Hello again, welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio and another Scale of the Week video. This time around though we've got not one but two scales because we're going to be taking a look at the diminished scale, and this comes in two variations. And the diminished scale is sometimes called a geometric type of scale because its origins, you can see them as quite a mathematical division of the octave into a series of notes rather than something that comes purely from, if you like, from the musical side of things. I said there's two variations of the diminished scale. There's what's called the whole tone half tone and half tone whole tone versions of the diminished scale. So starting off, we're just going to play this scale on one string because it's a little bit easier for you to look at the intervals and the way that the scale is built up. So starting off with the half tone whole tone, we start off from the root note. Let's just play an open string, and we go up a half tone, then a whole tone, then a half tone, then a whole tone, half tone, whole tone, half tone, and a whole tone. Gets us back to the octave. And as I said, there's the whole tone half tone, which goes like this. So what you've got in one is an alternating pattern of half tones and whole tones, and the other one an alternating pattern of whole tone and half tone. So it's all about the intervals between the notes. Now let's take a look at a copy of PhatPhish. Fire that up, and we'll start off just with the half tone whole tone version of the diminished scale. And by way of a contrast, here's the C whole tone half tone diminished scale. So as you might expect, because of the way the scale is built in such a geometric pattern, there's quite a regular arrangement of notes here. Okay, now here we're looking at C diminished, and what you need to bear in mind here is that some of the note names, you need to consider the enharmonic equivalents, the notes of the same pitch that have a different name. So here we've got a C sharp as the second degree of the C diminished scale. That C sharp, you could also call it a D flat. And that's the thing with geometric scales. The naming, sometimes you can be a bit more flexible, whereas if you, for example, you were playing a C natural minor scale, we know that the third degree of C natural minor has to be a flat third, so it will be an E flat. You couldn't really get away with calling that a D sharp because that's a sharp 2, it's not a flat 3, because that scale's very musical in its definition. The diminished scale, like a geometric scale, is more mathematical, if you like, in its origin. So it pays to be able to think about the notes in terms of the pitch rather than just their name. So where could you use the diminished scale? Well, whenever you're looking to employ a scale, to play solo or over the top of some chords, you're looking for what's the commonality between the scale and the underlying chords. So the obvious place to start is thinking about the diminished chord itself. The diminished chord has got the formula 1, flat 3, 5, double flat 7. Don't confuse this with a half diminished chord, which is 1, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. Fully diminished chord is the chord that you get as the second chord and the seventh chord of the harmonic minor. And it's got quite a distinctive sound. But you can play a diminished chord over the top of that quite happily, and it'll fit in because there's common notes. Now another place where you can use the diminished scale is over the top of a dominant seventh chord, over any dominant type chord, particularly the half tone whole tone version. It's a diminished scale, so you can think of it as having a flat fifth in it. The half tone whole tone also has a note that's equivalent to a perfect fifth, so it fits in okay over the dominant seventh chord, and it just sounds quite good. It's a slightly bluesy sort of sound. And if you ask people, what sort of musical styles they associate with the diminished chord, they'll tend to lean towards bluesy, particularly jazzy sort of styles. But it's a bit like the melodic minor that we looked at in a scale of the week not that long ago. It's got a reputation for being deployed in a jazz sort of context, but if you experiment with the sound, you'll find other places that you can use it and give yourself a much more tonally rich vocabulary for playing melody lines. So don't just pigeonhole it as a jazz scale. It's something to go away and experiment with. If you're using dominant seventh chords and also any sort of altered chords, the diminished scale is quite a useful scale choice over the top of an altered chord. So something like a flat fifth, or flat 9 sharp 9, or flat 13, something like that. If you're into your jazz, you will understand the whole altered chord type of thing. If you're not, if you have a look at the arpeggio side of PhatPhish, you can dial in some altered chords and get a look at the notes that's involved with those, and play the arpeggios and listen to the way that they sound. So this is something really for you to go away and experiment with. Let your ears guide you, but let your knowledge of music help you here as well. You know, understand about how the scale that you play. You're looking for notes that complement the underlying chords that you play, so you get things that work well together. I know a lot of the scale of the week videos that I do, I'm probably talking about scales that you've seen before. The diminished one, it's probably less likely that you've used this in anger, but certainly it's worth experimenting with. And as I said, it's more than just a jazz scale, so experiment with it if you're into whatever style of music you're into. Give it a bit of time, see if the sound of the scale works for you, and if it's something that you want to be able to try and incorporate into your own play. So as always, experiment and have fun and be creative. Okay, that's all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video next time. Bye for now.